They wanted to engage with those characters. And so Disney acquired Club Penguin, and no doubt we'll be seeing Disney characters within the Club Penguin world in the near future. World of Warcraft, a successful, massively successful MMO, about 12 million people spending $10 a month to play World of Warcraft, popular all over the world, extraordinary success. There's casual game sites, thousands of those around, serving free-to-play flash games, which monetizes through advertising predominantly. The front pages of these websites become very valuable real estate that people are willing to pay for to get to those eyeballs, very targeted eyeballs that play games. There's gamification of games going on where people want to apply game elements to normal products to have a more engagement with their consumers. This is a company recently launched, Shopvolution recently launched a social shopping experience on Facebook called Shopcade, whereby people are allowed to build their own shops from virtual shops using merchandise from real vendors, and you get in-game coinage for doing the right thing and visiting other people's shops. And if you actually click through and somebody visits your page and buys a real product, you'll get a rev share with the person who both buys it, with the person whose shop it is. So this sort of gamification of stuff is happening everywhere, both within Facebook and the web, to get greater engagement with consumers. Mobile games, everybody firmly believes that mobile is going to be the biggest gaming platform in the very near future. Social mobile in particular, games like Words with Friends, connecting people, and then directing them to the iStore, because let's not forget that the iStore is perhaps the world's smallest shopping window, and how to get discovered is the challenge for people. Just putting your content out there is not enough. You've got to be discovered. And of course, social games. Huge explosion in social games. We all know about the success from Zynga. I know Zynga are here today talking. Facebook became a platform, didn't exist very long ago. If you see what happened, it took 38 years to get 50 million users of the radio, 13 years for television, 4 years for the internet, 3 years for mobile, and 200 million people were on Facebook in less than a year. Now it's up to 700 million people. So it's an extraordinary games platform, and opportunities for games like Farmville. Who's played Farmville? Nearly everybody. You're not alone. Great opportunities. I mean, just concentrating on Farmville 1 second. I'm sure the people from Zing have already explained that only 1% of people actually spend money within social games, but they are enough to generate for Zynga nearly $1 billion in revenue, monetizing free content. And sometimes as cross-promotional activities are occurring where Zynga releases prepaid card. If you spend $25, you get a free download of Lady Gaga's album, plus a couple of special items put inside the game. So there are cross-promotion activities and opportunities that happen all the time. But just getting back to Farmville, at one point had 80 million people playing. There's 1% of people wanted to be like #1 in their friends list, or they were just impatient. They weren't prepared to grind it out. And they're the ones who are willing to buy virtual goods inside that game with real money to speed up the process so they can be #1. So they're either impatient or they've got ego problems, but nevertheless they're willing to get their credit card out to buy, and that's great. Cityville, the follow-up to Farmville, had 100 million people playing within 44 days of release. It was extraordinary success. Here's some of the screenshots from Cityville. And Zynga, as everybody knows, is going for an IPO. Market cap estimates vary between $10 and $20 billion. We'll find out soon. And the one warning about Facebook is that the cost of user acquisition is going up as Facebook ads become more expensive, as in a bidding war to get people to advertising. Development budgets are going up also in Facebook games, and virality's gone down when notification was turned off. So there are challenges on Facebook, but it still remains an amazing platform for getting big audiences for games. This the acquisition and activity seems to be going on in the online space. Not so much happening in the traditional console space. And I say the social is the platform of choice for everybody going forward. Wireless connected devices, bricks of play games on the move, snacking bite-sized chunks of gaming, terms real time, the future. Obviously smart pads, smartphones and tablets. Quickly a little bit about the UK, what's happening there. There's been some doom and gloom about the UK as it transitions from console to digital. It has a huge legacy in making games. The ZX Spectrum in the 80s, very affordable, programmable computer, put into the hands of a creative nation. It was no surprise that the UK became one of the major leaders in creating content in video games. But some of today's global blockbusters in the console space are mostly not developed in the UK, and those that are mainly owned by foreign studios, as the UK was unable to scale its size of its studios without foreign investment. So we still remain a very creative nation in terms of content creation, but the owners of our IP tend to be foreign based now, the United States and Japan in particular. Independent UK developers are shrinking in number, but they are moving into the new area, and that is, of course, the online world. And there's lots of good things happening in the online space in the UK, I'm pleased to say. Companies like Jagex making RuneScape. Anyone played RuneScape in the room? Yeah, that's got millions of subscribers. And as I said earlier, Moshi Monsters from Mind Candy. They've now got 50 million registered users. Gourmet Ranch from Playdemic, very, very successful social game, and people reinventing themselves, like Charles Cecil relaunched his Broken Sword series on iPhone, and it's kind of a born-again publisher, which is good to see. See, Moshi Monsters, 50 million users, RuneScape, millions, Gourmet Ranch, games like Cricket Captain from new companies, like, and so that brings me to a little bit about, I'm sure you all know how to be successful, but here's just a few little things that I've observed recently in the New World Order. There's kind of been an explosion of micro studios, small iterative teams, agile development, getting product to market very quickly. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, they're happy to move on. It's great for the industry in that so much more original IP is being created now. It's not all about console sequels. The reason why there are console sequels is that the publishers have invested so much money and time into those big franchises. It's quite risky to do original IP if you can have the opportunity to go to the market again with a sequel. So all the innovation and the excitement is happening in the indie studios, and finding new business models and ways to get to market. So I think the top tip for everybody is to make your own games. It's not that hard as long as you have the right ideas. Of course, that's a little bit harder, but there's lots of platforms to get to market. Making original games is fun. You've got to think about a few things, and you've got to make sure they're not too hard, not too easy, to get that sort of zen game mechanic to drag people through the game happily without frustration or without getting bored. And then you've got to think how you tap into people's emotions. Angry Birds was successful, 500 million downloads now. But the execution, the style, the sort of emotional link to those birds and to those pigs is quite strong, and just the sort of elegance touch with the screen was very satisfying. And there's many reasons why Angry Birds did so well, but they thought about it a lot in the terms of production and execution. Original, beautiful and fun, these are the other areas you should think about. PopCappa, a glowing example of putting high production values into very original and elegant ideas. Plants vs. Zombies, of course, it's a tower defense game, but the way they took the view on a tower defense game was to make it funny, satisfying and beautiful. Another thing I think about when I'm making games is look to what people did in their childhood. Watch people. There's nothing better than humans, to learn from humans in what they do in their everyday life, which might translate into a game. Mimicking human behavior in The Sims has proved to be monumentally successful. So if you can take elements of your everyday life, there's probably a game to be made there. So the changing models, we've moved from a premium to a freemium model. We're monetizing free in mobile games in particular. Those high-cost games, they sell a few, but they don't generate anything like as much money as free games. Because if you serve something free, it obliges you to make it good, otherwise people won't play it. But once they're in there, if they're enjoying it a lot, they're very happy to spend money inside it. So the average spend of those people who spend money inside a mobile game is approximately $14. If you try to charge $14 up front, people wouldn't buy it. So you give it away free and you monetize content inside, and you'll find there's some extraordinary amounts of money to be made from free. So those who are afraid of free should not be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of, as long as you have the right content. In the social space, your business should be built around acquisition, customer acquisition, retention, how you're going to retain them, and then how you're going to monetize them. These are the three main areas. And then discovery. How is people going to find out about what you do? How are they going to find you in the iStore? Are you going to use virality, more and more use of social media, friends recommendations, traditional games media with ratings? I think is going to have less of an influence over time, as the sort of friends recommendations, social media are going to have a lot more sort of compelling reason for you to want to do something. There's nothing better than word of mouth. And of course, analytics and metrics, you cannot afford to ignore what your customers are saying. They're telling you where you should take your products, and one thing about products as a service, games as a service, is that your content is alive. You can take it in a different place, reacting to what your customer's saying. And so your product over time is going to get better as long as you listen to what they're saying. In the old days, you build it, you put it on the shelf, you forget about it, you move on. It's all now about customer engagement. Every one of your customers is important to you, because they'll help you make something better for next time, if not this time. Zynga understands better than anybody about customer acquisition. That is the starting point for their games. And the cost of that customer acquisition needs to be in your business model. Retention, to create a portfolio. Zynga don't mind if people move within their ecosystem of games, as long as they're within that, ring fenced by that ecosystem, they'll still be monetizing those people, even if they jump from game to game. As I say, monetization, the starting point is the game design that you're going to be able to monetize people going forward. So if you look at some of these games, some of the iPhone games have been successful. The ones I'm going to show you now all have a common theme in that they've been original in one way. This was one of the first ones to use a tilting device, but Igor Puzinchak, he spent his whole life just doing PR and adding new content on a regular basis, so he had something new to talk about. They only sold 22 copies of Doodle Jump on the first day. Most people say, oh, that's rubbish, I'll give up. But he knew he had a game that would be good if only people knew about it. The discovery was the challenge. And now they've sold over 5 million copies of a very nice, elegant game. Tiny Tower, a great success. Anyone played Tiny Tower here? I think this is a great example of a free-to-play game. It's not forcing you to buy stuff at every juncture, but you don't mind spending money if you have to. You have to get that balance for people thinking, oh, they only build this game so they can sell me something, to thinking, you know what, I'm enjoying this, I want to buy something. So I think Tiny Tower, beautiful game, didn't cost very much money. I think they built it in 4 months and had 1 million people playing it within 4 days. Cut the Rope, who's played Cut the Rope? Yep, there's a message out there here, isn't it? It's all about doing something original and doing it well. Flower and Flow, everyone's played Flower and Flow. Students from Southern California University, 100,000 downloads in the first 2 weeks.